So this brings me to one of my favorite practice areas that we've developed in the last few years, which is something we call as ATSS, which is Athena Talent Supply Chain Solution. Um, ATSS is a practice that we created about 9 years back, and what we essentially do in this practice is to kind of create a live repository of talent, which is always available to be hired by the client. The story which sort of leads to this practice development was again a conversation with one of our clients where we were doing some searches for them and this was a UK based consulting firm, and this firm essentially used to work with large pharma companies and were kind of doing projects for them. And in one of my interactions with their global CEO, he said that, Bhavishya, I have a very specific problem statement where I am bidding for projects with my clients, and the only two choices I have is either to hold a very large bench, which could be deployed the moment I get a project, which is a very, very cost intensive exercise for me, or the choice is for me to actually acquire a project and then go and do a recruitment for those people, which would cost me very heavily on the timelines, and the kind of also puts me in a questionable situation with my client whether I'll be able to do the right staffing at the right time in order to deliver on the project. So he said that, why don't you try to come up with a solution which helps us to kind of solve this dichotomy that we face in our business. And we came back and we sat on the drawing board and we did some blueprinting, and we realized that there is a possibility of doing an exercise which kind of reduces their time to hire quite significantly and also gives them the business prepared to go actually bid for projects. And that was the genesis of the ATSS practice. And what we essentially do in this practice is to actually map live talent in the market based on the near and far term needs for our clients that they would have, and actually build this repository through a cloud-based platform which is available for the client as and when they need it. The impact of the exercise is, I think we reduce the time to hire cycle by about 60 to 70% in this. The cost to hire also by about 70 to 80%, and the panel time engagement also about 60%. So when we kind of executed this first assignment, and I remember that we ran this exercise for 4 continuous years with this client. They ended up hiring more than about 400 candidates in that time duration, and perhaps their probability to win business with their clients also went quite high with this practice. So yeah, I think it's one of the very interesting practice that we offer today at Athena, and I would like to call upon my colleague Arjun to share his experience on working with the client in a similar situation.
Well, happy to talk about it, Bhavishya. And I clearly remember this was one of the most challenging projects we sort of completed for a client. So this project we sort of completed with a US headquartered company, global organization, providing KPO, legal and contract management services. And because we had a history of working with this company, we had executed multitude of senior leadership searches, quite complex in nature across geographies. I think we were the only talent advisor they sort of reached out to discuss this problem statement. I still remember that meeting with one of their global leaders where he was talking about lack of just-in-time inventory of talent, live talent maps, and this was across their 4 delivery locations: Charlotte, Fargo, New York, and Boston. Yeah. And how they were bleeding on their top and bottom line because of this. They were unable to realize the full potential of the projects that were in play, and there was this lack of confidence in bidding for future business as well. I mean, that's when, because we had seen success of this solution and model in the past, that's when we sort of went back to them and pitched them our ATSS or talent mapping solution. And we presented a roadmap wherein we had mentioned that the solution will not work in a manner that we create a talent map for you and we exit. We sort of offered them an ongoing engagement and support to replenish this repository, assess and qualify candidates as per their requirements, as per their budgets, and also ensure that the candidates are interested in the opportunity during this span of time. I mean, while we sort of won this mandate, this was quite challenging because this was not run-of-the-mill hiring. Quite niche skill sets we had to hire for, and these geographies that I had mentioned, talent was not available.
Very lean talent pool.
Absolutely, very lean. And I remember we had a big team working on this project. 4 different teams individually sort of managing each location. And I think what sort of started off as an experiment lasted for 3 years. We worked with them for almost 3 or more than 3 years. And during this period of time, we must have mapped at least thousands of candidates. We enabled more than hundreds of hirings. And I believe the aha moment for us was when we had these review meetings with the management and leadership teams, and they spoke about how they've seen a significant increase in revenue from their ongoing projects, and their increase in the confidence index when they were bidding for future projects. So this was another very large scale and complex project in ATSS we ran for an international client. And it was as successful as the previous ones we had done, and this sort of gave us the confidence that with the genesis and ethos with which we sort of created this solution to solve problem statements, this was scientific in nature and quite successful as well.
And that's the reason, Arjun, I think the application has been so diverse, right from difficult markets to niche talent to predictability of hiring in a certain time frame. I think the application of ATSS really surprised us also by the time we started delivering across different scenarios.
Absolutely.